Well, normally behind me here at the football field here at TD Place, you'd see coaches talking and preparing their players for the next game. Well, we're going to be talking about coaches, but coaches who are preparing people for the battle of their lives. I'm talking about cancer coaches at the Ottawa Regional Cancer Foundation. We catch up with cancer coach Patricia, who describes that in any given circumstances, both the diagnosis and treatment for a cancer patient is difficult, but imagine going through it during a pandemic, the type of isolation that you go through. And Patricia doesn't just deal with the patient themselves, she deals with their caregivers and family members.
So my role as a cancer coach is to work with people who have been diagnosed with cancer or their families. And all of the coaches are regulated health professionals, so either social workers, nurses, but we all have experience working with people with cancer, so in oncology. So my background is nursing, and I've been a nurse for many, many years, primarily working in the community, home visiting, doing outreach, doing education, and most recently working as a cancer coach. So what we know when people have a diagnosis of cancer, it's hugely impactful for them and for their families. So as I mentioned, we coach not just the person with cancer, we also have clients who are caregivers. And so that might be the person that we're working with. But what happens with coaching is we will spend some time getting to know them. They will come in and tell us, how is this impacting them? Because we're all unique people and everybody's very different. So I can see 3 different women who have, say, a diagnosis of breast cancer, and how the cancer is impacting them can be very different. So we start with that. So for one person, it might be they're just overwhelmed with their choices about their treatments and what's going to happen. And so they really want to talk about getting more information or help making decisions about that and space to do that. But another woman, it might be, how do I talk to my kids about this, right? Because this is going to be very impactful for them. Another might be, how do I manage work and cancer treatment? So coaching starts with, how is this impacting you? And where do you want to go with this? And so we work together. It's not me just giving them advice or telling them what to do. It's getting to know them, asking good questions, listening to them. And from that, we kind of sort of see, well, what's important to them and where do they want to go? And then together we develop a plan, an action plan, we call it, about what are some next steps that they can take and what would help them get there. So that's kind of what's happening in our coaching session. It's really talking and asking questions. And then hopefully when they leave, they have a bit of a plan of next steps to do. And what happens with that, they often come in just feeling so overwhelmed, right? It's just too much. They don't know where to go. But really, they often have a lot of strengths and resiliency. So that with the coaching session and you're talking to them about all this stuff and simplifying and asking questions, they leave with a bit of a plan. So they leave often feeling a little more relaxed, like they have a little bit of that control back, because cancer takes away a lot of your control. So they might feel, okay, I know what I'm going to do next. I feel like I've got some next steps. And that can really help with their stress, might, improve their quality of life. Well, the impact of the COVID pandemic has been huge for cancer patients. We've seen that evolve, and it's different again for everybody, but especially at the beginning when way back in March, we were, when the city was trying and the hospitals were trying to adjust to all of this, so many things got just shut down. So I was working with clients who had been diagnosed and told they need surgery to remove a tumor, and that was put on hold. So if you can imagine the fear and the anxiety that those people were living with. And at the beginning there was no end date. Like, we didn't know how this was going to go. So there was a lot of fear. So a lot of things were canceled or delayed, and that was really, really difficult. Some of those things have come back, and most of those early clients have had surgeries. But what hasn't been happening, and the fear is what we're going to find out in the months and years to come, is people who aren't going to say their doctor, because, where normally if we see a little lump or something different on our skin, or we're having some stomach problems or whatever, we're going to go to our family doctor and get that checked out. Because of COVID, a lot of people are avoiding doing that. And so the fear is that cancers are going to be diagnosed at a much later state. Our clients, even pre-COVID, some of them were immunocompromised or just had a lot of fatigue and side effects. So we were doing some appointments by phone and video already. We have the technology, thanks to a very generous donor. We got the technology to do video conferencing or video appointments prior to COVID. So I would say prior to COVID, I was probably doing about, this is very rough, but 25% might have been about either by video or phone, and the rest were in person, which is always preferred. We switched to solely video and phone calls, but because we had the technology, it was pretty seamless. Like, we were very comfortable doing that, and so it was just a matter of getting the clients a bit more comfortable. But they've really jumped on that. So that's been really good. We were very fortunate that we were set up and ready to go right from the beginning. So COVID, of course, has had a huge impact on donations. Our organization relies solely on donations and fundraising. And, like everything else, a lot of stuff stopped. So we had some major events that were planned, and those had to be canceled. People who maybe might have been donating at other times, again, this is a tough time for everyone. So donations aren't where they normally would be at this time of year. So it's had a huge impact.
I want to remind you that the Ottawa Regional Cancer Foundation relies on private funding, and of course they've had many of their events canceled or rescheduled to later in the year and perhaps into next year. So please visit their website and donate if you can. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Operation Support Local. Make sure you tune in each and every Friday at 7:30 p.m. And if you have a story idea, visit our website.